who orchestrates another set piece and flicks it for Martial! Who squeezed it through Ederson and established a United lead on Derby Day! Another way. James towards Rashford! Free! In a flash! Here for Pogba, supported now by Daniel James, whose dream comes true. How about it? Lap it up, boy! There's corner pulled back for Pogba! United run the business. Boy, they run the business. What a splendid Manchester United breakthrough goal. This resurgent red storm blows up again. Quite a sight when they're flying, and they're flying again now.
Hello and welcome back to the United Devils podcast. We've had a little break with the international break to, I guess, recover a little bit from the 6-1 loss to Tottenham. And so we're not going to be talking about that too much today. We're going to be more talking about what's happening in the next week. And of course, United start their really hectic schedule in October and November. And they begin it with an away trip to Newcastle and then another away trip to Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. And then we'll follow a very heavy fixture list, which will be a make or break part for the players and the club as a whole. With me today, I welcome back Suraj and Prashanth. And, you know, we'll like I said, we're going to avoid the main topic, but I think the three players that we do need to discuss most importantly from that game. And we'll talk firstly about Anthony Martial. And of course, you know, at 2-1 down, the red card that he was issued somewhat controversially, I would say, meant that United were, you know, facing an already uphill battle, but it was made certainly more steep by his dismissal. It was United's first Premier League red card since early January or February 2019, when Ashley Young was dismissed against Wolves. And it's a bad one for us, especially because Edinson Cavani is not available to play against Newcastle. So it means that two of our strikers, our two competent strikers, are unavailable, and it means that there's going to be a hole. But more importantly, Paul Scholes actually did talk a lot about Anthony Martial during the break, knowing full well that he couldn't back it up with any performances because he'd be unavailable. He said that Martial had conned United fans into believing he was a number 9 striker because he scored goals from a striking position and played well as a striker. And now he started sluggishly after, 3 games, and Paul Scholes is on his back. Prashanth, I'll ask you this. Do you think these comments are fair? I mean, we obviously all have a lot of respect for Paul Scholes for everything he's done as a Manchester United player and since leaving and becoming a pundit. But do you think those comments were out of place?
Absolutely out of place. I'm not a huge Anthony Martial fan saying that he will be the number 9, which Manchester United, he will take United to glory days. No, I certainly don't believe that. But let's give him credit for what he has done last season. He's the only guy who I trust to finish chances ahead of someone like Rashford. I would trust Anthony Martial to finish it much better than what Rashford can. Knowing that Anthony Martial doesn't play international football as much as what Rashford does. But what Paul Scholes said is absolutely not acceptable. I mean, great footballer, one of the best players what United can ever have. But that's simply not called for. Anthony Martial in 5 years did not have a single fully fit season. We all know Anthony Martial as an enigma, right? He can do things when he's in the mood. And the best example for anyone as a United fan to understand Anthony Martial is just go and check the game against Watford last season where he just chipped Ben Foster. He had a chance to finish 1-on-1. He couldn't. He dragged him outside and he just finished it. And he just lobbed over Ben Foster. That actually shows what kind of a player he is when he's in the mood. The problem with Martial for a fact is that he hasn't been consistent and injury issues. And to make matters even worse, he hasn't started firing all cylinders this season. And Paul Scholes' comment, not needed right now. Why just target Martial? What has Pogba done? I mean, if I want to pinpoint, I can pinpoint 10 other guys who have done that. But it's easy to point out Martial because he's been subject to Paul Scholes' criticism not once. This is the 3rd or the 4th time I remember saying Paul Scholes saying about Anthony Martial. I certainly understand Paul Scholes' pedigree of comparison of striker would be Ruud van Nistelrooy, Henrik Larsson, those kind of guys. But give this guy a break. Let's at least give him credit for what he has done last year.
Absolutely. I think what quite a few fans actually went the wrong way about it, and then they started to discredit what Paul Scholes has done, which you can't really do.
Yeah.
You can't discredit that, but what you can say is what he said was incorrect and really quite unfair. I think
It's not called for right now. It's not needed.
yeah, no, it's kicking someone when they're down, and realistically, you need to bring them back up. I think when it comes to when something hits you that hard, I mean, you don't see that about Firmino or Joe Gomez or Alexander Arnold after the Liverpool game. You don't see it from them.
Oh, for
So
them, it's just one bad game, right?
that's also true. But I mean,
No, I'm just saying that for them, the benchmark is just one bad game. They won the title. But
yeah,
for Martial, for 30 games, if he's been consistent, that's not a benchmark. How that's exactly why I get agitated when someone says that no, he's not a great striker and etc.
yeah.
What about the 30 games he did well?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you talked about Paul Pogba. He's the next one on the list, I'm afraid. There was. I know you had a few calls to take him, not have him play. I believe against Brighton. And while I personally thought it was far fetched at the time, I thought maybe he'll get fitter. He hasn't looked the same, but and it was certainly demonstrated in the Tottenham game where he was caught out of position a couple of times. He gave away a really stupid penalty. He wasn't really tracking back defensively, and I think then we see him in the international break and he's playing fantastic football. The difference is there's energy behind him. Kante is one of the most energetic midfielders on the planet. Adrian Rabiot is a very similar player. Suraj, do you think that it was a mix of both, the fact that Pogba wasn't really fully fit for United and the fact that we don't have as much energy soaking up behind him, which means he doesn't have to contribute as much defensively? Or I mean, what's your thoughts on the whole Pogba situation? Do you think he needs to be dropped even after his performances for France?
I think now after all these years that Pogba has played for us, we need to look at his contributions as a whole to Manchester United. And I think if I have to describe him in one word, it'd just be a roller coaster. When you lose all hope from Pogba, he just goes and then he scores a stunner, and then everyone's Pogba in again. And then, so one thing I have noticed is uh, Pogba is excellent when everyone around him is excellent. I have almost never seen Pogba in a United shirt just single-handedly turn the game around, or apart from the Man City game where
I was about to say.
And the Swansea one. Remember that
first season,
yeah.
So in general, I've noticed that when everyone around him is poor, he's poor. So that's something we need to look at, because he's the kind of player who, at least I think has the potential to be one of the best midfielders the game has ever seen. But now he's at his peak. So this is the time we should be seeing the best from Pogba, and we're really not. Initially, when Mourinho's reign was coming to an end, everyone kind of gave him a pass, saying, okay, the team morale is down. But I don't know now what the issue is. And it just looks like he's trying, but it's not coming off. You can say that about a lot of players, but at this point, we need to be looking at players like Pogba and saying that when no one turns up, I need you to turn up and I need you to win the game for me. When nothing is going the team's way, you have to turn around and you have to make a difference. And he hasn't been doing that for me enough. So I think he needs to be dropped for a little while. Maybe get Van de Beek in. No, his position is not, he's not undroppable. But again, I love the guy, and I'm definitely not one of those guys who's like anti-Pogba, get him out of the club and all. I'm still a little patient, because I know there is a player in there. We just need to get it out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact is that he has shown some fantastic glimpses at times, sometimes fantastic performances. I saw a thread the other day where it was dismissing the rumor that he's only had a few good moments in a United shirt. I've seen the list of games, but I mean, obviously not what you said, where he's changed the game all on his own, but he's certainly dictated play at times, and he's done each part. I think one thing when it comes to Pogba is in his first season, it was said that he didn't get enough assists. The next season, he got enough assists, but he didn't score enough goals. The next season, he was United's top goal scorer and created their most chances, but then he didn't contribute defensively enough. And then he tried to contribute defensively enough. And then it's just that I think everyone wants too much from him, and he's got to play just that one role, which is the midfielder that creates chances in that sort of number 8 position. Almost, I can't explain it other than Andres Iniesta, essentially getting the ball from deep, driving it up, getting in the box, getting the odd goal, but his passing is the main part of his game.
But then what does Bruno do then?
Well, Bruno's the number 10, isn't he? He's the okay. Maybe.
How ironic! I was listening to Suraj and I was like, no. So I'll tell you my issue with Pogba here. He said that I don't have a creative outlet, so we got him Bruno. Mm-hmm. He said there is no one who's going to cover me defensively. We got Matic. Instead of Matic, we have McTominay, Fred. What do you want then? You want someone to play your role as well? I mean, I understand what you're trying to say. People expect too much from Paul Pogba. That's because he has set his own standards at Juventus, right? He has set his standards. Yeah. He had an aging Andrea Pirlo and an aging Claudio Marchisio and not so good Arturo Vidal. Arturo Vidal, in his last year of Juventus, became world class. But then he moved to Bayern Munich, etc., etc. It was all Paul Pogba's show. Once you can do it at Juventus, fine. Premier League, new era, you have to adjust, etc., etc. You go to the World Cup and you just run the show as if the world is your stage. There has to be something wrong with the guy. Now, what's my fear dropping him? His agent will come back. And we all know what kind of situation we are going to get in then. We paid 100 million for a guy for a 5-year contract with a year to extend. By summer, he's as good as being a free agent because he'll only have 1 year of extension, which we will, of course, trigger it now. Right? His agent will come and say, you know what, you dropped him. Now I'm going to look for a move or pay me X amount. And I don't know if this is, it'll be very stupid of me to say he's doing it on purpose to get a hike. No, definitely not. But do you see the pattern where what I'm talking about now? That's exactly what is irking me. And on top of it, he's not done a huge favor on himself by saying that his dream is to play for Madrid one day. It wasn't needed, right? I mean, your team is already down. A lot of fans, a lot of teammates, your own teammates look at you as if you are the guy who's going to pull them out because we all know you can do it. For anyone who says that they haven't seen Paul Pogba in Manchester United shirt, Paul Pogba has got moments in Manchester United shirt which very few players can do. Remember the goal against Spurs where he just let Rashford run a split-second pass. Remember the goal against Chelsea which he again let Rashford run a split-second pass. He caught the defense snapping. The game against Spurs after the lockdown, he won the penalty against Eric Dyer. And you saw that in the documentary where Jose said Paul Pogba will do that. Everyone knows what he's capable of doing it. The question, what most fans are annoyed or want to ask Paul Pogba or his entourage is very simple. Why can't you do it at least 3 times in a month? Which is, I'm saying 5 weeks, 5 game weeks, 3 times that's all what we are asking for you. Right? Just 3 times a week. That's more than enough. But you can't do that in what? He moved in 2016. This is 2020-21 season. You haven't done that. Forget 3 times a month. You have not done that 3 times in half a season.
Well, that is obviously an important part. I think that's something which you can say for both Martial and Pogba. The consistency was the key. Martial, obviously.
But Martial isn't world class, right? Martial was never considered as world class. Like Suraj said, he's never considered as the guy who has got the potential to be one of the best in world football. Mm-hmm. Pogba has been considered, touted, rated. You want to use any adjectives for it, you can. And he has shown why he should be rated, right? It's not that we are shooting something in the dark. We've seen it. We've seen it not once. We've seen it at the biggest stage. You remember the World Cup final against Croatia, right? He ran the show. Yeah. He literally ran the show. It was as if like that was his playground. And with no disrespect to Croatia as a team, but it was all Paul Pogba World Cup final. You saw the game against Argentina, one of the most sought after games in World Cup football.
4-3.
Who unlocked the game? Right? You say you don't have a leader in Pogba. He was the guy who was motivating the entire team. So why is it in France? Why not in Manchester? Is it because of influence of agent? One, which I think is a huge factor. His agent is always lurking around. 2, he really thinks that with this club, I don't think I can win anything. I might no, there's no one in world football who's going to afford me right now. I might as well run down the contract here. By the next window or whatever, money will be back in the football clubs. I might as well move again. That might be one possible option for him in the later stages.
Mm. Well, I mean, it's something that will have to be considered. Obviously, United have the option to extend his contract, like you said, and I think that's something that United can do rather than what he can accept. They have that option that he agreed to, so I think they can actually do that. So I don't think they're going to be looking to sign his contract until maybe next year. It depends on what happens with other circumstances that are beyond the player's control, which we'll get onto in a little bit. But before then, we're going to talk about our final player from the Spurs game, Harry Maguire. He's having a terrible time of it. I think that's the best way to explain it. He's obviously, the stuff in Mykonos could not have helped. The fact that people were already slandering him before that for other things, his some defensive errors that he had been culpable for during last season, and they haven't stopped this season. Certainly against against Brighton and against Tottenham, he was just out of it. I can't explain it personally. I think that he's obviously got a lot weighing on his head. I think the fact that the appeal hasn't been concluded yet is something that's still weighing on his head. I think the fact that he was dropped from the England team initially, which obviously was the right decision at the time, was still it was a bad decision for him. It was a bad move for him, I think. And let's not forget yesterday, the red card, and the red card for him. I think even when Roy Keane, who has publicly slammed Maguire again and again, is jumping to his defense at how Gareth Southgate handled that situation, saying you should console him and say, it's not your fault, because he got the ball. I think personally, I think he got the ball, but I think he's having a really bad time. There's a lot of reasons for why. There's a lot of solutions that could be offered. Suraj, do you drop him and take him out of the limelight, or do you think that will put him further in the line of fire and he should just start against Newcastle?
So this Harry Maguire situation is a really, really delicate situation over here, and to be honest with you, I've been thinking about it a lot. Just thinking as in, if I was Ole, what would I do? And I genuinely don't know. I think this is where a manager who has been in management for years and years would have a more concrete answer. But it's okay. That's a debate for another day. So I think first up, United are at a stage where two losses in 3 Premier League games. It's going to be a hunt for a scapegoat, and it's going to be Maguire.
I love what you just said.
So we really need to handle it well, because last season he was really good for us, but he did make a few mistakes. So we saw there was a little bit of a destructive tendency in there, but not to this degree. First up, I think he shouldn't have gone for international duty. He should have had one of those injuries and remain in Manchester and probably just not even trained, just regrouped and kind of left the whole Greece situation behind him and, just try to improve his mental stability as such and get ready for the upcoming games, because the next few games are going to be very crucial. The next game, he's going to have Werner and Havertz and all running at him. Then he's going to have Mbappe and Neymar running at him. And we can't have and our captain cannot be going through a crisis at that time.
Absolutely.
In centre back. At this point, I'm just worried about his mental health. Because as soon as I saw the red card, I thought, no, that's the absolute last thing that he needed.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I didn't think that was a red card. I didn't think that was a second yellow. I thought he comfortably got the ball. But damage has been done. United players have had a tough time with England before, while playing for England before. So it's just, I think the next few days will tell us a lot about Maguire's character. If he has it in him to bounce back against all odds, then I'll have massive respect for him. which is just something that I think Solskjaer needs to handle very delicately.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact is that if Maguire starts against Newcastle, and I'm not saying how likely this is, but we go over and win 2-0, keep a clean sheet, comfortable in defence. So Maximan kept at bay, and whoever else is playing up for Newcastle is pretty much.
Longstaff brothers.
Sorry. Yeah.
Long.
Well, I'm not going to go into them. They don't count. Those little mutant gingers. They can just go somewhere else. But essentially, if we go to Newcastle and get a good performance and a clean sheet, people are going to forget all about. I think they're going to forget. They're going to change their way they think about Harry Maguire, especially if he has a good performance. Because I think the fact is that we've had such inconsistency over the last 7 years, just about 7 years, unsurprisingly. We've sort of known that we've gone from one way where players can play and have a world-class performance, and then the next day they fall on their feet, and we've seen it with so many players down the years. I mean, we thought Mike Smalling for Louis van Gaal, and then 1 year bad for Jose Mourinho, then back in Jose Mourinho's good books and out again. Daley Blint's the same way. Phil Jones started the season with Mourinho alongside Eric Bailly. We thought that was going to be great. And he gets another injury. Not that I'm putting Jones and Maguire in the same bracket. They're not. But it's just a bit frustrating to see sort of how much this is going to go, and hopefully, like you said, if he can find that stability and just, it's not pulling himself together, but find that strength from within him to just get this team forward. We need that, and certainly now more than ever. We had a question.
Worst part is if you strip him off the captaincy.
Yes, well, we'll get onto that now. As Adita asked a question saying that the stripping of Harry Maguire's captaincy is inevitable. He said that it would either be David De Gea or Bruno Fernandes for him. He said that he quotes that every Manchester United fan knows there's going to be a change in captaincy. The only way we're actually differing is on who. So you said that's the wrong way about it. So do you want to go into that a little bit more?
I mean, like you rightly said, he's already down and out. Why would he strip him of the captaincy? I mean, I certainly, first and foremost, I'm not in huge favor of him being the captain in the first place as already. But he's already having the armband. Okay. You can't blame the partner always. Harry Maguire always can't say that it was Lindelof's fault, it was Eric Bailly's fault. He has to have some responsibility. Agreed. I totally understand that. There is no problem. But right now, stripping him of the captaincy is possibly the worst thing you can do to him. If you just think about this, there's this guy who's already having a litigation issue. It is having an issue the legal issue in Greece. England match got a red card. Club football not doing well. 3 games, 2 losses, not a great sign. A lot of questions being asked on him, on his ability as a footballer. Forget the price tag. I've not even gone to the price tag. A lot of people are questioning him. How did he even make it to pro? And what has he won? He's gone 3 relegations. He's not won anything. How did United sign him? Were United conned, etc., etc., etc. At this point of time, you go out and take out his captaincy. I'll just shatter the guy out. Honestly speaking, I would have wanted the change in captaincy right at the start of the season. One season you made him captain. This season you started with David De Gea or Bruno Fernandes, as like Aditya said, fair. But now there is no point. He's already got the captain's armband. Probably he can use it as, an advantage for himself, saying that, what, I am Manchester United's captain. I need to show people what I am all about. Like Suraj said, if he shows character in the next 4-5, like this is entire month of 4-5 games, you have massive respect for the guy because everything is talked against him. Like all the odds are totally against him, which is a huge positive because I think there is nothing else where he can fall now. The only way for him is just to go up. I expected Harry Maguire to respond like a David Beckham after 98 World Cup. What happened when people burnt his effigies and, remember the Daily Mail article, right? 10 brave lions and 1 stupid boy. So that was the article, that was the headline. Yeah. So I expected Maguire to start the season like that, but hasn't happened for whatever reasons. But yes, he is at fault for a lot of things. Partners, Lindelof 1 game, Bailly 1 game, I understand. You can blame your partners. But honestly, I never thought Harry Maguire was captain material ever. But once you've given him, you can't do much about it. You have to back the guy now. And I really hope he does something good for himself because he's not bad. Let's face it. We knew he had a limited skill set, right? We knew he doesn't have pace. We knew that Harry Maguire is a smart defender. The Bergwijn goal last season was a clear reminder for everyone that he does not have pace at all. Okay, but what he compliments for that is he knows how to read the game quickly. He covers spaces which Lindelof doesn't cover, or which Eric Bailly leaves it for open as if thinking that someone else will take care of it. He covers those spaces. In covering that space, when someone else attacks from the other side, he does not have the legs to reach to him quickly, and hence he is so-called exposed. After all this, if you strip him of the captaincy, it's absolutely shambolic for that human being itself that he'll start doubting himself. There is nothing left in him to doubt. I would rather let him stick, and I would not drop him for the Newcastle game either. If we drop him, and who are we going to play there? Marcus Rojo. Who do we have a centre back option? Eric Bailly and Lindelof. Really, two of those people who I can't trust. At least of Lindelof and Maguire, I can trust Maguire to do something. Lindelof, I don't know. I can't trust him. Eric Bailly depends on what side of the bed he gets up and if he's fit or not. Then your only option you have is Marcus Rojo. Tuanzebe, no. Ethan Laird, Mengi, no. I would rather have an Harry Maguire play Newcastle because, let's face it, Newcastle are not going to be just a pushover team.
No.
They are going to come, and Saint Maxim, I don't know, on that day he will want to be Luis Figo.
Yeah.
So I rather have Harry Maguire doing that. And God forbid if we don't play Harry Maguire and if we play some centre back and we get, let's say a 2-0 victory. Okay. People will say you wasted 80 million on signing Harry Maguire. You could have done the job with these people as well.
Yeah.
There are two sides to the same point.
Well, very, very true. I think that's very well put. I think Maguire, obviously, I think he should start. I think he can't get any. This is a big low for him, and he just has to kick himself back up. We'll have to see whether he can do that. We will just go on because we're running out of time, I'm afraid. So we'll go on to the Newcastle game. Obviously, Newcastle in very good form. Realistically, they have had a few dips, but overall have been playing very well, especially with fantastic additions of Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson. I can't remember the other ones, I'm afraid, but they're the big ones. I remember Jamal Lewis is actually a very, very smart signing for them. And so we've got a good team to play against. Of course, we have got our own additions in Facundo Palestri and Alex Telles, who could play, but Edison Cavani is obviously unavailable. So is Anthony Martial. All right, well, we'll go into a lineup quickly, and it will include the results of our poll, which obviously came up with a question over McTominay as a centre-back, probably in a back three or back five, because that's how he played for Scotland when they got to, I believe, the Euro 2020 on penalties and then topped their group in the Nations League. So, Suraj, I mean, we'll talk about it in general. What would be your lineup for the game? And would you consider McTominay as a centre-back alongside Maguire?
I think you're on mute, Suraj.
Oops. Okay, before I start, it says remaining time 8 minutes.
Yes. So if we do go over, I'll just schedule another meeting and just put it on. But,
yes. Yeah. All right. Okay. So first up, I wouldn't start McTominay in centre back. You can start him at centre back against your Luton Town and whatnot, but not against Callum Wilson. He will punish McTominay. So up front, we don't have Cavani and Martial. So I'm not going to put Ighalo in there. I'm going to put Mason Greenwood as striker. I saw a report saying that the reason we bought Amad Diallo and Facundo Pastry is because Solskjaer wanted to get Mason Greenwood in a more central role. So this is his chance. I'll put Mason Greenwood in there, and Ighalo is just testing my patience in both the EFL Cup games. So now the question is obviously, what do you do on the right wing? I think we'll have to put Dan James over there, but that's also a tough choice. Pastry cannot be starting this game. He just can't. we've got to really ease him in, and I won't be surprised if I initially thought he'd start playing with the reserves, but turns out he's going to straight away make the match day squad. So again, I don't know how that's going to work. Most of our attacks are going to be down the left hand side, so Rashford's going to be on top, has to be on top of his game. Hopefully, he can strike up a partnership with Tez, and we can have some goals over there. Otherwise, Bruno Fernandes needs to save us. So should I just give my expected lineup?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we'll go for De Gea and goal. Wan-Bissaka. That's a tough one. Who do we partner with Maguire?
It's not even like I have like great options now. I'm confused. Who do I start? Now I have to think
Exactly.
who is going to make less mistakes. I'll start them.
Who's going to make lesser mistakes, or who's going to end the match still fit? I'll just chuck Bai in there. Bai is going to partner Maguire because at least Bai gives me laughs during the game. Lindelof doesn't even do that. And alongside Maguire, Alex Telles on the left wing. Then we're going to have Matic. Oh, that's a tough one. I'll drop Pogba, Van de Beek, Bruno, Rashford, Mason, and Dan James.
And your prediction as well?
Just gets tougher. It's an away game. Go for a 2-1 win.
All right. Wow. One thing actually I did see that was quite surprising is a lot of people saying at the end of the game, you got to drop De Gea because, I mean, he conceded 6, but he couldn't do anything about any of those, really. So.
Not a single goal he can do anything.
No, exactly. And actually, he stopped it from being 9 or 10. So
9 or 10. Yeah, I was about to say that. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, we'll go on to your lineup and prediction, Prashanth. Would you agree with all those decisions Suraj made?
I would put Lindelof ahead of Bai.
Okay.
Okay. That's because Newcastle are not going to play a lot of aerial balls.
Yeah.
They're not going to play a lot of aerial balls because they don't have any tall strikers. Joelinton isn't that, kind of nemesis kind of a guy. It's going to be Callum Wilson. We all know it's going to be Callum Wilson's route which the balls are going to come. So for that, I'll definitely play Lindelof 1, and I'll make a small change in the midfield. I'll definitely drop Pogba and get Van de Beek. I'll not start Matic in this game because everyone has figured out that you press Matic and the game is done, and Newcastle are going to press us hard. We saw that one of the worst performance under Solskjaer was the last time when we played Newcastle. Remember? So it was the worst performance what we had. I'll definitely start Fred in this game. I would want Fred because his energy, his ball distribution. What's our problem been this year? We are not releasing the ball quickly. Right, our strength is space, but we are not releasing the ball quickly. I'll definitely start Fred ahead of Matic for this game, but at least for the first half. I would definitely start Fred because Newcastle are going to crowd the midfield. Right, they're going to crowd the midfield and they're going to attack, and they know that Matic doesn't have the legs anymore. Block his first pass. Matic's role is over. While Fred, you can't actually mark Fred out of the game because he's got energy to drive the ball out. And with Van de Beek and Fred, it becomes even more dangerous for the opposition because they don't know who to mark now. Because Van de Beek will try to slot in between defenders or free spaces, and Fred can actually thread in good balls, provided if his passing is on accurate that day. Apart from that, most of the team is similar.
Yeah, you'd start Dan James.
Yeah, who else can you start there? There's no right-wing option. There's only Dan James now. We don't have he who must not be named on deadline day deal, right? So it has to be Dan James. Pellistri, again, like Suraj said, I would want him to be just eased into the squad. I'm not expecting an 18-year-old guy turning against Bolton and then turning on the heat. That was long back. I'm not expecting anything of that sort with Pellistri this time.
And sorry, what would be your prediction for that game then? Are you predicting 2-1 win too?
I'm expecting a 1-0 victory for United. I'm not expecting us to score 2.
Well, for me, I mean, again, it's very, very similar to both of your teams, just a slight formation change for me. I think I said before, I think we're going to, like you said, they're going to, just swarm the midfield. So I think a diamond would work quite nicely. I think you can't not start Van der Beek after just everything he's done since being at United. I think also in the international break, he was pretty impressive for the Netherlands. The finish he had against Italy, I think, was a great instinctive finish, which is something that we might need because things aren't going to be pretty against Newcastle. It's going to be a bit of a mess. So you need someone to be a bit more composed when there is a mess. And we've seen that already from him. I would probably, I think also there's no way Solskjaer's going to drop Pogba after how he played for France, especially that ball he played for Digne to Mbappe to win the game. I just don't see it happening for me, as much as he might need it. But your idea for Fred is very interesting. But again, I don't see Matic getting dropped. I just think that he'll then essentially, if
along with other people, he was one of the worst performers in the Spurs game.
Exactly.
But we are not going to say anything about it.
I just don't see him being dropped. I think he'll sort of, it just means that if Newcastle play as a back five, then he can sort of slot in as an auxiliary centre back, and then we still have three midfielders. And then it means that Greenwood and Rashford can play as inverted wingers that will track back against Newcastle's marauding fullbacks like Lewis, and I think Yedlin's fit to play, but if it's not, it's Emil Kraft, who's also very good. And it just means that we'll have a little bit more fluidity and a little bit more steel in the midfield, and certainly a lot more energy, which is something that we needed. What you did say, actually, one difference would be Bailly or Lindelof, which I think is the two in contention. I don't think Tuanzebe's ready yet. So for me, I think to deal with Callum Wilson, if he does make those runs in behind, I think Bailly's probably more well matched for it. I think while you could say that, if they put in Joelinton or even Andy Carroll, who they do have, who could do something if he chooses to, he could cause a problem. But I think Bailly has that thing. And also the fact is that he might offer a bit more pace if Fraser or Saint-Maximin comes more inside. So we'll have to see. Prediction for me, I'm going to go with what I hinted at earlier in the podcast as a 2-0 win. I think if United can really click and catch Newcastle off guard, which I think they're very capable of doing, this could make a statement, because of course we'll be going on to the next game against PSG. I think we'll be using a back five for that game. I don't think Solskjaer will take any chances. I think we're going to sit and counter-attack, which I think will cause PSG a lot of problems, because they do have struggling to break down teams. We saw they started off quite roughly. They lost their first 2 or 3 games of the season, I think.
Sorry to interrupt.
Of course, no.
So 7 players have tested. So 2 of them have tested positive, and 7 players will miss the Man United clash between PSG and United. Do you want to know who all are them? Ander Herrera. Okay, he is missed. Apart from that, I just got it on Twitter now. Yeah,
I think there's Theo Kehrer as well.
Yeah, Julian Draxler, Marquinhos, Verratti, Icardi, Kehrer.
That's massive, but unfortunately there are two players that I think were missed from that list. Neymar and Mbappe.
It's pretty funny, right? Ronaldo, who was tested positive, asymptomatic, was asked to isolate, and Mbappe spoke to him. He should ideally be isolated for the game.
Yeah. Well, then that means Martial, Pogba, and Bruno are also out, which is, blessing in disguise, I guess, that they're not. But yeah, you're right. We'll try for prediction. We won't go for lineups because I think they'll be very similar to the side that plays against Newcastle. But Suraj, you see United getting anything from this game?
I'm always optimistic, which is one of the worst things you can be as a football fan. I see, even if we lose 6-1, I'll expect us to go on and win the next game, even if it's PSG. Obviously, Mbappe and Neymar are going to be a huge problem, and I'm glad we got Tez in place of Shaw just in time. Apart from that, not too sure. I think we will have Cavani in time for that game.
Well, Martial will also be available.
Yeah.
They'll both be there. So I think in a way it's a good thing we're going in as underdogs, but a lot will be determined by our game against Newcastle, which we have to win.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What's the prediction? Sorry, someone dodged it a little bit.
Prediction. I don't want to make one
Oh dear.
because I I never predict a United loss. I just try to be optimistic, even though in my mind I know it's.
Yeah.
I think I'll go for a draw this time. 1-1.
Yeah, I think that's about as optimistic as it gets against this PSG side, who are fantastic. Let's not
It's like Joe pocket around saying that, no, whatever.
Yeah. But I guess mountains are there to be climbed. Prashanth, do you think any kind of 3-point massive victory will happen?
No. No, with this United team, no. But when I compare to this United team versus the one who defeated PSG a couple of years back, of course we have improved from that kind of a team to what we are now. But PSG have gone levels and miles ahead of after that, while we are still had small amount of improvement. One is that. Second is I don't think our defense is capable enough. See, we are worried about Callum Wilson, right? And then you're going to talk about two of the best strikers or forwards who are playing in modern day football. One is Neymar and Mbappe. I've not even gone to the midfield, which is a very packed, close, competitive midfield. I mean, obviously, Marquinhos is a big miss. Ferrati is a big miss, but still, it's a good enough team to beat United. I'm not very hopeful of. I just hope United turn up in the game. I don't want it to be a open and shut shop kind of a game. I hope United turn up, even if we lose 4-0, 5-0, 10-0, whatever. I want United to at least compete in the game and be relevant and be present. I don't want it to be a Spurs kind of a game where after 3 goals, the players were like, yeah, I mean, I've already considered 3. What else will I'm going to do types? You know, I don't think United will win this game, but I'm sure PSG are not going to come and take a 7-0, 8-0 apart. That's not going to happen. It'll be a 2-0 loss for us, sadly. I'm expecting a 2-0 loss. But yeah, my only hope is that United should turn up in this game. It should not be a one-sided victory. No matter how quality the team is, United should turn up in this game.
I agree with you in that point. I think they have to show at least the passion and the energy they showed in Paris. Yeah, exactly. I think the one a couple of years ago was tribute to that almost. I mean, it was fantastic, and you saw the passion, you saw the energy, you saw everything. Even when, let's be honest, the goals were exactly not from brilliant play. They were
scrappy goals. There was 2 mistakes, right? Scrappy goals. Who cares?
It was a mistake from Kehrer, a spill from Buffon, and a stupid handball from Kimpembe. Take the ball, but it's what it is. You get those games, so hopefully we can do something. I see it being one where United will try and counterattack, and I think they can catch PSG out because I think they've lost a lot in Thiago Silva, who's a massive leader for them. I'm never convinced about their fullbacks. I think Bernat's useless. I think when you get ruined that easily by Diogo Dalot, I think you sort of have ended yourself. And he didn't do himself any good favors against who was he playing against against Bayern? Gnabry and Coman. On the other side as well was pretty destructive. So I think we've got we can expose their weaknesses if we play our cards right. So we'll have to see, but I think it will be a draw. I'm going to go with the 1-1 draw that Suraj did.
I think in the season where we beat PSG, there was one game that everyone usually just ignores. It's when we beat Juventus away from home the same season.
Oh yeah.
But that was Mourinho masterclass, man.
That was
all Mourinho masterclass, and that Juan Mata free kick. I mean, you don't see Juan Mata doing those things often. He's a year older. He writes more blogs now. So, and that was typical Mourinho game, right? That game was tailor-made Mourinho. That exactly is how Mourinho won the big European trophies. He would frustrate you till the core, and he would. All he needs is an iota of space to get into the game. And Juventus gave it, and Mata finished it. This PSG side aren't going to do that because they don't know how to defend. I mean, can you imagine if you have a team like Mbappe and Neymar, you don't know how to defend. This team is like the United team where we won the last title. You score 4, I'll score 5. I'm going to outscore you because I have got the firepower to outscore, and I've got goals everywhere in the pitch. Even someone like a Marquinhos who may not play, is a goal threat.
Yeah.
Kimpembe, yeah, he always wants to score. So,
Well, there we go.
yeah.
We'll have to see how things turn out. It's obviously going to be busier and busier as it gets on. Obviously, Chelsea, Leipzig, Arsenal, Everton, all to
Yeah.
come in the next few weeks. I'm afraid that is all we have time for this week. Thank you for listening, and thank you to both Suraj and Prashanth for joining us. It's been tough to go through all of this because there has been a lot of negativity, especially when you finish, when you start an international break on the drop that it is. And realistically, I don't think a lot of the players actually did too well on the international break either. So they should have been probably pulled in and done one of those, pulled a sickie for the international break and just worked really hard. But we'll have to see how things turn out on Saturday. If you have any questions or topics you would like for us to discuss on the next one, please comment below on the YouTube video or on the poll on Twitter. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter for all of our content.